Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Awesome Albums Extras, a video where I take an album I've already covered, but with facts that I didn't talk about yet. Whether they are things that I've learned since making the original video, something I forgot to include, or things that just didn't fit. Today, we are going back to Led Zeppelin's fourth album. I guess I should start this video by talking about the album cover, but first I feel I should introduce the band with Robert Plant, Jimmy Page, John Paul Jones, and John Bonham. Jimmy Page said that him and Robert Plant came up with the artwork together. He said he had a concept for the cover to complement the folk myth lyrics Plant had written for Stairway to Heaven. Page says Robert had actually bought the print that is on the cover from a junk shop in Reading. We then came up with the idea of having the picture, the man with the stick, represent the old way on a demolished building, with the new way coming up behind it. The illustration on the inside was my idea. It is the hermit character from the tarot, a symbol of self-reliance and wisdom, and was drawn by Barrington Colby. The typeface for the lyrics to Stairway was also my contribution. I found in a really old arts and crafts magazine called Studio, which started in the late 1800s. I thought the lettering was so interesting, I got someone to work up a whole alphabet. End quote by Jimmy Page. Anyone who knows anything about their fourth album knows they put symbols on here to represent themselves rather than names. This was also Page's idea. As a possible source, he showed them the Book of Signs by Rudolph Cook for inspiration. John Paul Jones went with a circle with 3 interlocking arcs, which, according to Cook's book, wards off evil. Bonham picked a rune with 3 overlapping rings, which symbolizes his family, but coincidentally is similar to the Ballantine beer logo. Page and Plant went with custom designs. Plant's design, though looks similar to the Egyptian goddess of justice and fairness, is actually inspired by Native American symbolism. Page has stylized letters that spell Zoso. While he says it's just a doodle, others believe it to be a reference to Austin Osman Spare's cult, Zos. Zeppelin had some very interesting stories between their third album and their fourth album. In Italy, on July 5th, 1970, 2 days after the Doors singer Jim Morrison died in Paris, there were 2,000 police officers that were anticipating left-wing protesters among the 15,000 fans on hand for the show. The ruckus moved to the auditorium as tear gas filled the room while Zepp was performing. They ran off stage and ran into a dressing room and barricaded the door with a medicine cabinet. The windows got broken in, and a couple canisters came in from the street. They decided, nope, we're not playing in Italy ever again. During that summer, they took a few weeks off, which allowed Page to experiment with mixing and designing the album cover. Unfortunately, there was a problem with mixing sessions at Los Angeles Sunset Sound, so they had to redo all of it at Olympic Studio in London. Although Led Zeppelin 4 companion disc, released in 2014, you can hear the Sunset Sound version of Stairway to Heaven. Another touring story was when they were in Japan in September. Plant and Bonham got into it, and Plant ended up getting a fat lip from it. Bonham left the stage, reluctantly returned, and then refused to play Moby Dick. Also in Japan, maybe the same trip, Bonham and tour manager Richard Cole took samurai swords and chopped down the door to Jones's room and then carved up the interior. The redecorating got Zepp banned from the Hilton chain for life. This sounds like something that Joe Walsh would do. In fact, he did. With a chainsaw. While they were touring, Zeppelin came up with some new songs that we'd eventually hear on their fourth album. Stairway, Going to California, Black Dog, just to name a few, which caused manager Peter Grant to be on the lookout for potential bootleggers taping concerts. In Vancouver, after Richard Cole spotted a man holding a recording box, he dispatched some roadies to smash the man's equipment. It turns out he was a government official trying to monitor the band's decibel levels in response to a citizen's complaints. Oops! Police showed up, but Grant was able to calm them down. It was just a misunderstanding. Now, let's hear some new facts about the songs on the album. Epic bass riff was created by John Paul Jones. He said it came to him coming back from rehearsal from Page's house. He'd been listening to a song on a Muddy Waters album called Electric Mud, which had a long, rambling blues riff, and thought he would like to try something similar. He shows the rest of the group what he came up with, and the group got into it trying to figure out the turnaround part, until Bonham figured out just to count to 4 times as if there's no turnaround. He says that's a secret. The companion disc has a slightly alternate version of Black Dog. There's a little bit more echo to it, Jimmy Page doesn't awaken the army of guitars at the beginning, and it's about 20 seconds shorter. As far as the companion disc is concerned, there isn't too much of a difference. I hear the difference, but it's more of one of those only a huge Zepp fan would catch.
Queen of Light took her bow, and then she turned to go.
This is a beautiful song with mandolin and acoustic guitar. Robert Plant is joined by singer Sandy Denny for the song, and by the way, she gets her own symbol for being on this album. Now, the companion disc version has the song as an instrumental. I love mandolin songs, and this is really neat to listen to. Yep, Stairway to Heaven, Led Zeppelin's most famous song, and I've spent over 6 minutes between the original video and the first extras video talking about this song alone, and I have more to say about one of the biggest rock songs of all time. Like I said earlier, the companion disc has the Sunset Studio version of the song. It's slightly different, but not too noticeable unless you are really paying attention. One thing I do want to say though, a few years ago I was talking about the lawsuit with Spirit. A lawyer for the trust of the late Spirit guitarist Randy California filed a plagiarism lawsuit saying that Stairway sounds like the Spirit song Taurus. Now, I've listened to both. They're similar, kinda, but it's kind of a stretch. But good news, everyone. This past summer of 2016, Led Zeppelin won their lawsuit. A Los Angeles jury determined that the lawyer representing the estate of late guitarist Randy Wolf, California's real last name, who played with the group Spirit, did not prove that the Hard Rockers lifted the song's intro from Spirit's 1968 song, Taurus. Let's celebrate that.
And she's buying a stairway to heaven.
With the remastered albums coming out with companion disc, there are 2 alternate versions of 4 Sticks. The first is on Zepp 4's companion disc, and it isn't too significantly different, a little more rough, but the companion disc released on Coda is very different. On Coda, companion disc 2 was an alternate version of 4 Sticks called 4 Hands. It's an instrumental with a lot of Indian influence and instrumentation on it, featuring the Bombay Orchestra. Going to California's companion disc version is instrumental, just like Battle of Evermore. This version only has acoustic guitar and mandolin. It's very relaxing, and once again, another pretty song. This iconic drum beat of Bonham's has actually been widely sampled in the hip-hop music community and other genres since the 1980s as a result of its distinctly heavy sound. But the song didn't always sound like that. Coda Companion Disc 1 has an alternate version called If It Keeps Rainin'. The song is naturally a lot more rough, about 3 minutes shorter, no harmonica, no mention of going to Chicago, the drums are different, and it has a faster tempo. But it's always cool to hear where songs come from and hearing alternate versions like this. 2008, Uncut Magazine asked Jimmy Page about the swirly effect at the end of the song and how it was achieved. Page responds saying, "It's sort of like that, isn't it? It's interesting. On lefty breaks, you've got backwards harmonica, backwards echo, phasing, and then there's the flanging. And at the end, you get this super dense sound in layers that's all built up around the drum track. And you've got Robert constant in the middle, and everything starts to spiral around him. It's all done with panning." End quote by Page. For the swirly effect, this is what they're talking about. Even though this is my third video talking about Led Zeppelin's fourth album, I still get excited to share it. There's no wonder why they sold over 22, 23 million copies. And if you're a Zeppelin fan, or at least trying to check them out, I definitely recommend for you to check out this album for yourself, and then check out my original video where I talk about the album in more detail. I also talk about it on my Awesome Albums Extras Part 1 video. But before you go, this has been Awesome Andrew reminding you that Led Zeppelin's fourth album is an awesome album, and I'll see you guys next time.